Well, hello there, beautiful. Welcome back to the Vital Goddess podcast. It is always such an honor and a pleasure to have you here. And if you've been tuning in for a while, welcome back. I so appreciate you. And if you are brand new, I am just so thrilled you're here giving this a try. And I hope you find something here that really supports you at this point on your journey. I have an amazing guest with me today. I am really excited to be in conversation with Dr. Elsbeth Moit. Dr. Elsbeth Moit was born and raised in Germany and holds a doctorate in education and a master's degree in music. And if I have my story right, she came to the United States for some postdoctoral work and has been here ever since. Feel free and correct me on that if I'm wrong. And somewhere along her journey, she discovered sacred sexuality and Tantra, and since then has created an incredible body of work. She has assisted thousands of women to create lasting intimacy and fulfillment in their lives and relationships. She's featured on Showtime's documentary series Sexual Healing and the Emmy Award-winning NBC show Starting Over, and is the best-selling author of the book Sexual Enlightenment, which was endorsed by world-renowned spiritual pioneer Dr. Michael Beckwith. You might know him from the movie The Secret. She is the co-founder of the Tantra Nova Institute in Chicago, which she runs with her husband and business partner, Freddy Weaver. And this conversation can go in so many directions. I have so many questions for Elsbeth, but we are going to focus today primarily on awakening your feminine essence. So Elsbeth, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Dianne, for having me on. I'm so excited about traversing with you in the dimension of the feminine.
So good to have you here. So I would love to start with you sharing a little bit about that career shift. It sounds like from academia on some level, and you could fill in the blanks for me on that, and how you became a Tantra yoga teacher and doing all the amazing things you do.
Yeah, so actually, when I got my doctorate, I decided instead of going further into academia and teaching, although I had been teaching for many years, I decided to become a management consultant. And I had gotten really good at consulting. That was in the 90s, traveled the world, really felt like I achieved something in the outer world, which was my intent. I felt accomplished there. However, I was so despaired in intimate relationship. I had a pattern of attracting unavailable men. And while that was exciting, most of the time I was alone. And so there came a distinct moment in my life when I could see the trajectory that if I were not to change that pattern, I would end up without lasting intimacy and love in my life. I mean, I had love and intimacy in my life, but I was not able to sustain it. And I didn't know what was there, what was in the way. It's like this blind spot. We feel that there is something, but it's like I cannot grasp it. And while I was familiar with Tantra through books, I had never delved deeply into the practice itself. And that was the moment when I decided something needs to shift and I need some, input from the outside so that I could see what was going on inside. And through the study of Tantra, which really very quickly after my first Tantra workshop, I said I was invited to do further work and then a certification program. And within a few weeks, I said yes. Never mind still being a management consultant. That was not exactly the trajectory of a management consultant. And so I learned, I graduated. What opened up for me through the tantric practice, the tantric healing, the connecting with my feminine essence, with my sexual, creative, life-giving energy that I connected with in a whole new way what opened up was that I discovered that I had held distrust towards men. Now, I didn't run around like a distrusting bitch at that time. That was like over 25 years ago. I was very charming, actually, inviting, but underneath there was something that I couldn't see from the conscious mind that, however, was running the show. And in the tantric practice, given that the tantric healing is so nonlinear, it's Vesuvius, it's being in the flow. And in that flow, stuff may show up. Also, perhaps not such comfortable stuff,
Mhm.
like for me, when I remembered in one of the tantric healing practice, uh, the memory of the time when I was 18 years old, first love. I was so in love with this young man. He asked me after a couple of years of dating to have intercourse. I said yes, although I was not ready for it. It was so freakingly painful. I
Mhm.
had to go to the gynecologist, and
Mhm.
the bill from the gynecologist went to my house. My dad opened it. All hell broke loose.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Called me a whore.
Mm.
The boyfriend left a few weeks later, the relationship. So there I was all to myself, no one to turn to. And in that despair, I decided, not consciously, but this nanosecond decision that, see, Elsbeth, men are not there for you when you need them. And while that was so at the time, this trailed me throughout my young adulthood into my adulthood. And then looking at it from where I'm sitting now, no wonder that I attracted unavailable men, because that was further proof that, see, Elsbeth, men are not there when you need them. In an unconscious way, we recreate the very thing that we say we don't want. And that is where the subconscious comes in, because the subconscious is much stronger than the conscious. We think we are guiding
Mhm.
our life from here. And that was the miracle for me in the tantric practice, that it connected me with the subconscious, my energy, my physical energy, my heart energy, my sexual energy, in the sense of all of that, what may have had experienced over the years, that accumulates then as memory. Freddy calls this the clay,
Mm.
that we are this clay, and how can we shift the clay? So that was a shift of my clay into, oh, I can trust.
Wow.
And then trusting myself more fully, because that really went first. uh, it was like, why didn't you speak up at that time? As the 18-year-old, why didn't you say no? You know, something didn't have me do it.
Yeah.
So how can I trust myself that I can count on myself? So that was recalibrated, trusting myself, trusting men in general. And
Yeah.
then 6 months later, Freddy my beloved, came into my life.
Wow.
I am sure I would not have recognized him as a partner, as a potential partner. I, of course, saw him when he came into my life. He's tall, he's handsome, all of that. But recognizing someone as a partner is a different level we connect on. And he was available. If I had not been available, we would not have resonated. So we both were available. And I really opened up to that, to availability, before I met him. I became available. And so I also want to share this with other women, because often women come to me, come to us, who struggle with that. Why can't I bring a beloved into my life? What's in the way? Or there are just no good men out there. Or the men I was with they just didn't really listen to me, or whatever stories
Mm-hmm.
we have about it, that then build barriers instead of, oh, what is it inside that I may regenerate unconsciously that brings me what I say I don't want, or doesn't allow me to create a new future. And so it's really, and I had done other, approaches, had done a lot of transformational work. It's not that this Tantra experience was my first transformational program, so to speak,
Right.
but there was a level of tapping into my sexual, emotional, and spiritual self that I never had experienced in the same way. I had done work on my mental, spiritual, emotional being, but integrated with my sexual, that was new.
Mm. Yeah.
Oh, that really something opened up, catapulted me forward. And given the depth of experience, life-changing experience for me, had me then, say to myself, Elsbeth, you got to share this with other women. You got to share this when Freddy came into my life with men, with couples. And so ever since, started in 2001. And ever since, Freddie and I have been on the path. And as you know, it's a very individual evolution while sharing this in the couple evolution.
So beautifully said. Wow. I've had a very similar journey in that I really resonate with that it's an inside job, right? When we start to really awaken our own power in this way, it's amazing how things can shift externally, and romantic relationships seem to really shift profoundly. So, thank you for sharing that. That's incredible because it's so true. Until if we have those stories running in our heads, I know experts say that our subconscious can drive our behavior like 90% of the time or something now, right? And if we're always looking for evidence that I can't trust myself or I can't trust men, it's so beautiful that you're able to do that inner work of shifting that for yourself. And then boom, Freddie comes in and you guys, the rest is history. And we were talking before we hit record. It's not to say relationships don't have challenges, even in the tantric realm, right? So of course there's still the challenges of relationship, but the way I think it, and speak to this, please, like the way we show up can be really different.
Yeah, the opportunity of a tantric partnership is that both people do their own work, and it's
Mm-hmm.
ongoing practice. It's not like, oh, I'm going to do this workshop or this program, and then I practice, and then, you know, ongoing work, not only in practice, like actual practice,
Mm-hmm.
also to be willing to see who am I in the matter. Like it's so easy in relationship to blame the other
Yeah.
if we may not speak it. However, in the thoughts we may have, or the feeling that may befall me, like a knot in my stomach, or my anger wells up. And it's
Mm-hmm.
so impulsive. So in the moment, it's not a conscious decision when I get angry. And to be willing to look at, okay, what is there for me in this swelling of the anger?
Mm-hmm.
What's behind it? And it could be all kinds of things like I don't feel heard, I don't feel seen, I don't feel appreciated, um, I feel used. There's a whole
Mm-hmm.
scale of
Yeah.
stuff that can show up. We have different stories, different words that resonate with us, but it's always externally referenced. Like if I don't feel heard, it's like the outside is doing something to me.
Mm-hmm.
So, not to now suppress that feeling. No, it's listen to the feeling that, ooh,
Yeah.
because usually these are old, familiar stories, feelings that have us then react and behave in the same way as I reacted and behaved when I was 25 years ago.
Right. Yep. Yep.
That is then the alteration to see, yeah, whatever Freddy just did, I feel pissed off or I feel not regarded. And
Mm-hmm.
what I've started, I mean, for a while now, have subscribed to is to look at, Elsbeth, this is curious that you don't feel regarded.
Mm-hmm.
What is it in you where perhaps you don't regard yourself? So that has been something big for me that has opened up over the last 2, 3 years, that I got to see that ever when I don't feel respected, there is something where I don't respect myself. Because as soon as I respect myself, I can speak up.
Mm-hmm.
I can say, okay, I don't want to engage in this right now. That doesn't mean that I'm not available to engage in it later. So this is not like saying no and abandoning the other. It's
Right.
not, perhaps would be good for me to have a little pause
Mm.
or making a very clear request, what I do want, just like with that first love, first boyfriend. If I had had a voice then, like being my voice, thanks for asking, to have intercourse, and I'm not ready.
Mm-hmm.
Versus what I think was behind it, the fear of losing him if I said no.
Right.
But that was not obvious. And to this day, certain things are not obvious because we are all so attached to being loved, to being wanted, to being acknowledged, that often need keeps me from speaking my truth. So
Yeah.
that is something that I have dismantled more and more. And often now, Dianne, the conversations are very brief between Freddie and me because all the stuff has fallen away. So, if one of us is upset or complains, then the other puts the question, what's your request? It takes out the judgment, the assessment. It's an, oh, what do I
Mm-hmm.
want?
Mm-hmm.
To
Yeah.
myself, oh, I just would like you to listen right now.
Yeah.
So
That's beautiful. Yeah.
the same is true for the bedroom
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
it's not any different. It's a different domain of interaction, but it's the same principle.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so how did we end up here?
Yeah, it's a great conversation. I think a lot of women will resonate with. But yeah, one of my teachers said to me years ago, under every complaint is a desire. And that
Mhm.
helped me a lot because and we use that in a playful way in our relationship a lot. And it does diffuse a lot of that would have been those same old arguments, like just hit record or and replay that recording once again. But yeah, once like, and similar, this will segue beautifully into talking about feminine essence. Once I started to doing that inner work of owning my own feminine essence and my yoni, really, we could talk about too how the yoni and the voice I think are so connected, and finding our voice through the feminine has been super powerful for me. And with that came owning my desire, being able to speak in that more I language. I'm feeling, this is my experience. So yeah, so I'd love to hear about, yeah, how working with the feminine essence, working with the Yoni, and not just physically, but spiritually and all the things you do. I'd love to hear how that weaves into what we're talking about here.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I want to preface it with speaking a little bit more about feminine essence.
Mm-hmm.
When I speak about the feminine, it's not about being feminine like an external appearance.
Right.
It may show up. There is actually beauty shows up. It's not a certain beauty ideal. It's beauty herself,
Mm-hmm.
inside out, and it's in the flow. It's not dependent on body weight. It's not dependent on the figure. It's not dependent on age. It is a frequency. We can think of it like if we think of ourselves as an instrument, like a violin, a flute, a cello, a piano. All instruments are based in vibration, frequency, like the attack on the piano key, the stroke of the bow on the violin produces a vibration in the string then, or in the air through the flute. And it vibrates at a certain frequency. And that is what each of us is and has. Each of us is a very particular frequency, and the feminine frequency is different from the masculine frequency. Of course, all of us, no matter man or woman, no matter if we are in a same-sex couple relationship or transgender or bisexual, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
There is yin and yang in all of us. Testosterone, estrogen. It's a little different. If I'm more in my masculine, there's more testosterone. If I'm more in my feminine, there is more estrogen. And we know it. I know it from my own life because for a long time in my life, I was very much in my masculine. I had forgotten about the feminine, not at the outside, but the inside. I was not in that feminine flow. And feminine energy can be described as creative, as flowing, as open, as listening, And of course, simultaneously, I want to be grounded in my masculine, not
Mm-hmm.
driven by it because then it takes it over. And then I get out of flow. And the word for feminine flow, feminine energy in Sanskrit is Shakti. It's the feminine energy set free. And when the feminine energy is set free, it moves through the entire being, the physical body, the emotional body, the mental body, the spiritual body,
Mm-hmm.
very effortlessly, which implies that we want to be open in these centers. Because if I am constricted in my sexual center, that doesn't mean that I don't have sex. I can have sex and be constricted in my sexual center, energetically speaking. I can have lusty sex, all kinds of sex.
Mm-hmm.
However, how I want to give an example from, again, going back to that 18-year-old experience. Upon that experience, when I felt so alone, what I did was I disconnected subconsciously my heart from my sex, here, from my Yoni.
Mm. Yeah.
Isn't it gorgeous?
She's so beautiful. And those who are listening to the audio version of this, she's holding up this beautiful, Elsbeth has this beautiful Yoni hand puppet. It looks like a puppet or a pillow,
Yeah.
and it's absolutely gorgeous.
And
Yes.
when she squeezes and releases her Yoni muscle, the pelvic floor muscles, then she starts speaking like the vulva opens up and closes, like, how are
Mm.
you today, Diane?
Yes. I'm fine, thank you. How are you? Yeah.
So
That's beautiful.
So the disconnect of the heart where love resides, love for self, love for the beloved, love for loved ones, love for humankind. When there's a disconnect to our sexual center, I am not in my wholeness. Now, in my situation, that is what happened after the experience as the 18-year-old. I had plenty of sex afterward.
Mm-hmm.
Became promiscuous. I mean, we could call it that. And I was free sexually, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But there was also something that it was like looking for love through sex that didn't bring fulfillment. And not that sex isn't great. However, it's just the first dimension of experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for some others, they may, you know, disconnect from their body altogether. They stay in their head because it's safe and secure up there. Then don't have to open up either in my heart or my sex. I'm fine by myself in the woods, you know.
Yep.
I don't have to open up, be vulnerable, and so forth. So these disconnects between these three centers of the sexual, the love, emotional, mental, spiritual, you know, is then the opening that we can, through the tantric practice, the tantric healing, re-access. Because when we come into this world, we are whole. And then as infants, as in our childhood, young adolescents, we
Mm-hmm.
encounter these situations where we become cautious, where we shut off, where it was not safe. Perhaps when some promise got broken, be it from the dad or the mom or a teacher or a friend, or we got ridiculed in school, or as an adolescent, you know, we had intimate sexual experiences where we opened up, but then there was an interruption where either a mother, you know, admonished us, or
Mm-hmm.
just a feeling of what I'm experiencing here is not okay as I was brought up, all kinds, or abuse.
Yeah.
So that then has these energetic constrictions. And by opening up my yoni, by opening my heart so that my heart can flow in her unique frequency, my yoni, it's a different frequency than my heart, can
Mm-hmm.
flow. My mind is not obsessed with stories that don't allow new possibilities, you know, has me in a circular way of seeing myself. I cannot have this, or this is sinful,
Mm-hmm.
it's not possible, or I never had this before. Why should it happen now? It's not safe.
Not safe.
These are
Mm-hmm.
conversations, thoughts that live in our physical, emotional bodies, you know. So we want to clear it, the whole thing, you know. And that was the opening for me, that by retapping into my yoni through the sexual healing, where I discovered, you know, when I was touched inside the yoni in this ritual that I experienced, there was a man. I went to Tantra by myself in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Freddy was not in my life yet. So I had a practice partner who was very respectful, so there for me, without his own agenda, his own wish for gratification, but really there. That experience in itself was healing for me, because that is not what I was used to. You
Mm-hmm.
know? And when I was touched inside at 11 around here, so I'm touching, just if you're listening and not seeing this, touching the Yoni puppet in the left upper corner, inside, when I was touched there, that memory of the 18-year-old came up just like this.
Wow.
Thought about it, it was not on my mind. And with it, the pain, the emotional pain, the physical pain that I had experienced at that time of an adolescent. And it was like opening a valve, where the steam gets more intense, like where the pain, the emotional and physical pain got more intense. But then also like the valve, it fizzles out.
Mm-hmm.
And the pain fizzled out. And with that fizzling out, that clearing, that release, that relief of all the story from, my nervous system, that network where it had been remembered was cleared. And in place, what opened up was trust. It didn't come from my head. The
Mm.
only thing that came from my third eye was my intentionality, like that I was intent on clearing what was in the way of me bringing in the beloved. And that is what showed up, It was
Amazing.
amazing. I didn't
Yeah.
expect that. And so back to your question of the Yoni opening,
Mm-hmm.
the Yoni healing, the accessing the Yoni energy that is so potent, so primal, that was the opening, new opening into my Yoni that was no longer laden with that distrust energy that I didn't even know that was there, you know.
Right.
When we open the yoni, our life force energy is set free. So yoni energy and sexual energy are the same. Life force energy, they are the same. They are not different. And uh, I want to emphasize here sexual and life force energy, because often when we talk about the sexual, I mean, in general, we think more about the sexual like sex. That is one way of expressing that energy. Sexual energy and life force energy are the same energy. They can show up on a subtle level, just like right now.
Mm-hmm.
You're listening to me. Everyone else is listening to me. I'm speaking. I assume nobody is right now aroused. If Freddy
Right.
was here,
Right.
he would say, just speak for yourself.
Yeah.
But so subtle energy, then when I walk in the summer by Lake Michigan and I feel the breeze on my skin,
Mm.
I'm not highly aroused, but my energy has risen,
Yeah.
you know, and
Mm-hmm.
then all the way up to that, moment of the climax or ejaculation. So it's like learning to play a flute, where I can hit all the registers. I'm very attuned with the different registers. I can play with them. I can enjoy with them. And that is how I get to explore further my capacity that the yoni energy flows through me. And once the yoni energy can flow through freely through a woman, then we call it her Shakti is awakened.
Mm-hmm.
And that is really when, we may go what from the outside may look like a convulsion, but it moves through us. It's not produced by us.
Right.
Learn to, you know, engage in it and embellish it. I can also engage in slowing it down.
Mm-hmm.
I don't suppress it. I let it flow through me. It's my aliveness. And this is associated with pleasure, with joy, and sometimes brought on without any physical touching, be it by myself or my
Mm-hmm.
beloved. It's just the mere thought of it,
Yeah.
you know. can bring on that flow. And most importantly, we are then in flow all the time. That just that I walk around with constant orgasmic waves. I'm connected to that wonderful energy and live my life from it.
Yeah, it shows. Yeah, you're really, really radiant, and yeah, I could feel it. The flow is so beautiful. Yes. Oh my gosh. And I know you teach a lot of practices in your work to support women in opening up these channels. Would you like to speak to some of the um, practices, the yoga practices, I guess we could say, that you love to share with women?
Yes, yes, I'd love to. So I, I actually have a gift for everyone because I thought out of the conversation that if you are listening to this podcast right now, you may be interested to actually learn some practices without
Mm-hmm.
having to go to a workshop,
Mm-hmm.
get started.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you're invited to come to Diane's work or my work. Um, However, so that you can get started. So there are three key practices. We call them foundational practices, and they are universal, not just to the Tantra Nova body of work. They are all part of tantric work.
Mm-hmm.
The first foundational principle and practice is the conscious breath.
Mm-hmm.
The second one is to become the witness of one's life, of one's being. We call it the witness state of mind. And the third one is to become aware of energy, of my human energy. We are more aware of energy as it shows up in our cell phones or electricity. But none of us really got introduced to our human energy. Like
Right.
you have a class or a course in human energy in high school or college. I didn't.
Nope. And it's so important. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's where the subtleties live,
Yeah.
where sexual energy lives.
Mm-hmm.
I can actually transmute my highly aroused energy into channeled energy that I can use in my projects,
Yes.
writing
Mm-hmm.
a book, whatever it is
Mm-hmm.
I want to bring forth in the world.
Yeah.
So for that, I want to become aware of energy. And in the tantric practice, we can, no, not just the tantric practice, we can only move energy through the breath.
Mm-hmm.
So breath and energy, human energy, go hand in hand. How we know that is when a person dies, the last thing is the lungs collapse, he or she stops breathing. Once that happens, life force energy has passed. So if they go together in dying, they must go together when we are alive. And in Sanskrit, there is a term which is prana.
Mm-hmm.
Prana means energetic breath. It's curious that in Western languages we have two words for it, which shows the dualism that
Mm.
we live in our Western world, but it's a unity. So when we learn to breathe parasympathetically, which means instead of just breathing in the upper body, the lungs, because fortunately the lungs keep us alive, because there's a built-in reflex that when there's not enough oxygen in the lungs, we gasp for air.
Mm-hmm.
However, the breathing just in the upper body through the lungs, also given that it's associated with the sympathetic nervous system, can make us more agitated, nervous, anxious. Even in my movement that is here around my shoulders that I'm making with my hands, you can see that makes me more you
Mm-hmm.
know, like
Mm-hmm.
on the edge. The parasympathetic breath, where we breathe into the belly, of course, not the breath, the air doesn't go into the belly, but by breathing into the lungs, deep breath, the diaphragm gets pushed down, and in turn, the belly extends. And that activates the parasympathetic nervous system that allows us to calm down, slows down our heartbeat. And when we become calmer, more equanimous, that is the place then where the witness can arise, because it gives us a little pause from the busyness of the mind. It slows us down, that belly breath, that conscious breath. And then I can look at myself. I can watch myself, so to speak. Elspeth, do you want to be angry right now? Instead of following the impulse. But I
Right.
do this only when I'm in a calmer place, you know? And that is what I draw on in my tantric practice when I channel my energy, be it subtle energy or aroused energy. I don't just give in into the impulse. Not that this is a bad thing. No, it's neither good nor bad.
Right.
I can, give in to the impulse and let it ride me and then come to the destination. Yet there is so much more available when I can ride the wave, for an extended amount of time, not coming to, so to speak, resolution. I just ride the wave either by myself in self-love or with my beloved or with a partner. And I can, have this go on over days. I don't mean that I'm at a higher point the whole few following days, but I return to it very easily. I may be even in a heightened state in terms of well-being, of pleasure, subtle pleasure, joy for life, aliveness, you know, and um, and so that is just possible, available. And so these are the three keys of the conscious breath, witness state of mind, and energetic awareness, both on subtle states and then also aroused states. And this gift, which is a video class about how to awaken the Yoni energy, so that you as a listener can access that. And there are very concrete practices how to connect with yourself like that.
Beautiful.
So you can take it into your everyday life.
I love it. Beautiful. Thank you. We will definitely have that linked in the show notes, and as well as a lot of other links that where you can contact or connect with Elsbeth's work. It's an incredible body of work. And yeah, wow. Thank you for that. I feel like I could feel that in my body, and I think our work is so similar in that way. And I also feel, we talked about this before we hit record, that anytime I have a chance to sit down and talk to a woman about these things, I just think it's such a beautiful thing and so important in the world. So I just really appreciate you taking the time to be on the show and discussing all of this with me.
Yeah, if I may
Yeah,
say one more thing, that
sure.
this is the energy that is healing to the world. And I need to feel it, to embody it, to be it. It's not about teaching or preaching about it. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
I teach very concrete practices so that
Mm-hmm.
every woman who comes here empowers herself,
Right.
drop into, you know, that birthright, into that beingness. And when I'm in my flow, guess what? Usually my relationship is more in flow. If women are in their flow, then they radiate an energy that is very inviting, you know, and that is so healing also to the masculine.
Yeah.
And so So for me, that's the new feminism,
I love it.
you know.
Yeah. Yes. That's that beautiful embodied Shakti, the embodied love. Yeah, that's what you embody. And I really do think that the world needs it now, maybe more than ever, or it's always needed it, but it's how beautiful to bring it forward with all that's
Yeah,
going on in the world. So
yeah. And
yeah.
and the healing from within,
Mm,
because that is like to look over to men to do something differently so that I'm satisfied in any
right.
area of life, is that no, this is here. And yes, men, there's a place for them to do their inner work. This is why I love that Freddy also works with men only.
Yeah.
So they can do, we call it like being grounded in your manhood and
Mm,
in your heart, you
mm,
know, that is so essential, and where men also feel lost
yeah.
after these last 60 years of women's movement, which has been so great in many ways, but also brought out the masculine in women more,
Yeah.
which on one hand has its place.
Sure.
Yeah, we can compete in the marketplace and all of that, but also to have that flow simultaneously. And that is what I feel your and my work is about, to come to that anew, which in some sense creates a new future that hasn't been here before because patriarchal influence has been so strong. Fighting against patriarchy is not going to work because it's the same tool. It's
Mm,
resistance against resistance
yeah.
doesn't solve something. But if that is here and that is yielding, and then actually starts to lead, and after a while the fist is not needed anymore. We actually,
Yeah.
mean that the masculine is this different energy, but it's a dance versus a fight.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you. Yeah. Wow. Is there anything else you'd like to share at all? Just spontaneously what comes to mind or in your heart?
Actually, yeah. If just everybody wants, just place your hands on your heart center so that we can close with the connection with the heart and just breathe in and out of the heart. You can do this with open eyes or closed eyes. So if you drive, don't close your eyes. And just feel how your heart, your chest opens into your hand or hands. And on the exhalation, how your chest, just relaxes and lets go. Connecting with your love center, with the love that you are. And feel the breath opening into love within.
Mm,
There's nothing you need to do, just be, and spend the rest of the day with that sense of the heart connection. And every interaction you have, check in with your heart and listen from your heart to the other person.
wow. What a beautiful note to end this conversation on.
Mhm.
Thank you so much, Elsbeth. It has been such a pleasure and a joy to have you here on the podcast. And yeah, so everything we mentioned in terms of links will be in the show notes, everybody. And again, yeah, stay in your heart, connect with the love that you are. And I will catch you next time. Take care.